Hi, YouTube. Erica from In the Company of Cards back again. Um, Delighted to be with you on this Monday. Delighted to have so many more new subscribers. I think we're 100 off from being at 14,000, which is ridiculous. I mean, that's crazy, right? In 3.5 months. So welcome. Um, I think because I have so many new viewers, it's worth me sort of reminding you or letting you know for the first time what the ground rules are. I will say that I have remarkably few, what are they called? Trolls. Remarkably few. Most people here have been kind and generous and thoughtful with the interesting questions that they've asked me to look at. I'm delighted by that. I understand that the larger a channel grows, obviously, the more kinds of people you'll have and the more possibility there will be for unpleasantness. But I will say I was a teacher for 30 years. I am also a mother who has raised children. And that means that I have good boundaries. So, there will be no second chances for bad behavior. And I mean, we all know what bad behavior is. I don't think I need to break that down. I am happy to engage in conversation and have done so in the comments, but I won't tolerate any disrespect. I'll just go bibbity bobbity boo, boom, and you know, you're gone. Um, a couple of things. Also, I wanted to say. I've had viewers try to give me instruction. For example, here's one. Don't call him 47. That's Kamala's number. Okay, here's the thing. I'll call him what I call him because, this is my channel. You're welcome to call him whatever you'd like. Um, I'm going to probably, I was cute last time and came up with a nickname. Mm, you know what? I think I'm going to stick with 45. And hopefully that will not raise anybody's hackles. But if it does raise your hackles, then perhaps I'm not the place for you, right? Um, Now, I wanted to tell you a little story before I launch into what I want to talk about today. And I have maybe uh, one, two, three, I have four things I'd like to look at. But before I do that, I wanted to just start with an anecdotal story. So, I had growing up a beautiful Black mother who was gorgeous and bright and magical and who wore hats and turbans and dressed flamboyantly and taught me to love the English language. So for those of you who have complimented me on my my command of the language, I think that she gave me my start in that. But I want to tell a particular story about her. When we were small and had to go to the doctor and had to get a shot, for example, my mother would do three things. Three things. The first one was to inform us of our destination. She didn't say, we're going to the movies. She didn't say, we're going for ice cream. She said, we're going to the doctor because you're going to get a shot. She, as you can imagine, this elicited, um, you know, wide eyes and maybe tears. But the fact was the fact. That's where we were going. There's a second thing she did, but I want to jump to the third thing that she did. So, the first thing was to say, this is where we're going. The third thing that she did was that after the procedure was over, she would take us to do something fun. get a toy, go to the movies, get ice cream, but it was after the event, which was the shot. I want to spend a minute on the second thing that she did. And that was we would get to the doctor, and you're sitting on the little whatever, the table, and they're preparing the shot. You see the stuff go in the syringe. You see how sharp the syringe is. You want to freak out, but my mother didn't play. You didn't freak out. But what my mother did say was, hold my hand, squeeze my hand. And we would squeeze her hand while we were getting the shot, and we would try to squeeze it as hard as we could because it was painful, the shot. Now, what was that message in that second step? To me, it was, listen, step one, we're going to the doctor and it's going to hurt. Step three, we will come out the other end of this. All things work together for good. Afterwards, we're going to get ice cream. Afterwards, you're going to get a toy. But in the middle, while you're getting the shot, while you're experiencing this painful thing that I can't keep from you, squeeze my hand. I will sit in the dark with you. I will feel your pain with you. And I have to say that of all three steps, the one that was most instructive to me was that middle step. So, why am I telling you a story about going to the doctor and getting a shot? Because here's the shot part. 45 will be inaugurated on January 20th. I know there is gnashing of teeth and tearing of clothing and torrents of tears. I get it. I've been there. I understand. But there will be no saving us from this. Uh, you know, I think that as Americans, we like things quick, fast, and in a hurry, including pain. Let the lesson be quick, let it be painless, let it, let's just get it over with. We learned our lesson. We're the better for it. Let's just get right on there to forming a more perfect union. Well, no. Was the election stolen? Absolutely. Who would deny that? Come on. Of course the election was stolen. Who stole it? The Russians, Musk, Thiel, Trump. They stole the election. They stole Kamala Harris's birthright from her. There will be no stealing it back. That's not going to happen. This is the shot part. This is the medicine that we are required to take because there is a karmic lesson that we have yet to learn. Why else did the election go south? Well, 36% of Americans didn't vote. There you go. And again, 52% of white women voted the way they voted. We can't just, skip the shot and go right to the ice cream. We cannot do that. There are plenty of readers, of course, on YouTube who will tell you something different, that Biden's going to save the day, that the FBI is going to save the day. Okay. No one is requiring that you stay here with me. But what I'm not going to do is blow smoke. What I'm not going to do is tell you things that I don't see, that my cards do not tell me, for the sake of your feelings. What I can do is what my mother did in step 2. I can hold your hand. I can sit with you in the dark. I can feel our collective pain along with you. I can help walk us through these hard times. That's what I have to offer. If it's not what you want from me, there are other readers that you can go to who will give you exactly what you want. And I encourage you to go there. Truth in advertising. I believe in truth in advertising. So, um, this is a bitter, bitter, bitter pill. This is a hard shot, but it is what it is. We are as we always were, only naked now. This is an opportunity for us to look at ourselves in ways that we have always refused to look at ourselves before. I've said this, I don't know if I've said it on YouTube, but I've certainly said it on Substack and other places that for those of us who are Black, and there are many Black people here, Black women, and I'm delighted by that, we've always known what America has been about. But anytime we call attention to it, uh, we get crickets. Now we're in a situation where there's no denying the racism, the misogyny, the apathy of the 36% who stayed home. There's no denying any of that. I'm not saying that this is the place that we have to stay, but this is the place that we are, you know. Um, there's no elixir that I can give us that will make this cup pass from our lips, but we have an opportunity to look hard at ourselves, to learn from the pain that we're about to go through, which will last longer than a shot, sadly. And yeah, start figuring out what we mean when we say a more perfect union. So anyway, that's my speech. If you've lasted this long, we'll now get to the cards. Um, I wanted to look at uh, Biden's newly given permission to the Ukrainians to use American-made weapons inside Russian territory. There's some speculation about this. This is something that, of course, Ukrainians have been begging for since the beginning of the war. And Biden did not give permission for that. He has given permission to the Ukrainians to use these weapons. Now, of course, a lot of people want to say, I mean, there's hypotheses out there, right? One hypothesis is that it's because he wants to show Putin that he's really mad about how the election was stolen. Okay, I don't know. I will say that I have heard our military people say that, it's essentially a day late and a dollar short, that all it will do is keep Ukraine, you know, standing for a little bit longer, but it will not help them win the war because it came so late in the day, this permission. So let's just ask the question, why did Biden give permission to Ukraine to use American weapons now in Soviet, I'm aging myself, in Russian territory in the war? Okay. So I'm just going to cut. And you know what? Instead of using Biden, I'll use the scythe because the scythe is the card for weapons, among other things. Okay. And I flip cards over until I come to the card I'm looking for. Here it's the scythe, which will stand for the weaponry. And our question is, why now did Biden all of a sudden give permission for Ukraine to use these weapons? So this is the scythe. Okay, so that goes in the middle. Taking the two cards and putting them to the left, and two more cards and putting them to the right. Okay. So I may pull clarifiers, not sure yet, but the cards that we have are the ring, the book, here's the weapon, Here is the scales card that I added to the system. This is not traditionally a Lenormand card, but this is my deck, and I added this card to it and the key. So what might I make of that? I'm going to pull, I don't know, a couple of clarifiers for um, each of the original five cards. Okay, so the ring, which is our first of the original cards, right? The ring is the fact that this war has gone on and on and on and on and on. And of course, now we're into winter, and you can imagine winter over there in a war situation is got to be hellacious. And the two cards I got, the clarifiers, are the older man and the rider. It was a message. I'm going to argue that it was a political message more than anything else. Um, yeah, because again, I don't think it will turn the tide of this war. It was more a political message that was Biden was giving. Okay. Oops, dropped a card. Okay. The next card is the book. And remember, the book is about things that we don't know. And we have the house and we have clouds. Now, there's a lot that we don't know about exactly the degree and the nature of the influence that Russia had in the theft of our election. So, some of Biden's decision comes from that. It's like, listen, I may not know exactly word for word, A through Z, what you did, Putin, but you did it. The book is about what we don't know about the stealing of the White House. There's still confusion about that. Okay. In the middle, these are the weapons. We have the bear and we have the sun. I mean, it's when I say it's a political move, it's a move that will make Americans think that Biden has teeth, that Biden is a boss, that Biden, this was a boss move to allow this to happen. But again, it comes so late. It's just meant for what's the word? It's like a shiny thing. It's a shiny thing that I made this boss move to get back at Russia for stealing our election. Scales is the next card, and the clarifiers are the moon and the bouquet. He's sort of making a an effort to rebalance the scales of public opinion, and he's hoping that Americans will think well of him as he goes into the sunset. Biden. This is about reputation, and this is sort of, the bouquet is like a gift, a reward, an award. Think of me well. I made this decision in a measured way. I didn't leap to it because I don't want it to be World War III. So it was a measured decision, and I did it because so that I look good. Final card is the key. Interesting clarifiers, the young woman and the whip. So the thing is, I mean, the key is a great card, but what is the answer here? What is that key? It's really not that big and bad a move, frankly. This is a yin card, yin energy. So it's not the powerful move that he wants it to seem to be. Uh, and then the whip, the whip is about arguments. And I can mirror the whip with the first card, which is the ring. This war will go on and on and on until 45 becomes inaugurated, at which time Russia will be able to have its way with Ukraine. So this was, it was more smoke than fire. It was more smoke and mirrors than it is anything with real teeth in it. Sad to say. Okay. The next question is a viewer question. And you know, there's a lot out there that you can listen to and read and watch. And I would advise you to be judicious about your sources of information. I always say on my videos, entertainment purposes only. I'm not the news. I'm not playing the news here. I'm just a card reader who's holding your hand while we all get a shot. Uh, but this question was from a viewer, and the question is that they said that they had heard on other channels with different readers that people who would be under 45 would be rounded up, jailed, executed for their religious beliefs and spiritual practices. And obviously, they are afraid of that, worried about that. So this kind of work, the card for that, believe it or not, is the moon for esoteric work like this. And so I'll use that as the focus card. And will there be some mass roundup? What will be the fate of people who do this kind of work uh, in the administration of 45 upcoming? Which I know you don't want me to say 47. All right, fine. Fine, 45. All right, so we're looking for the moon. Uh, will, oh, and it's the first card. Okay, so when that happens, it's the first card. That means I'm going to pull 4 cards after it. Maybe I'll pull clarifiers. We'll see. I don't know. Okay, so there it is. Okay, and the next cards are, okay, so we have the moon, we have the older man, we have the anchor, we have the tower, and we have the bouquet. I think I definitely want to pull clarifiers on this. Um, okay, so I'll just pull a couple for each card. Okay, so first I'll say this, 45 is not invested in rounding people like me up, people who do this kind of work. No. However, remember that 45 is um, the handmaid of Project 2025, um, entertainment purposes only, YouTube. So the people of Project 2025 would love nothing better than to put people like me out of business. So anyway, this is the work, this esoteric work, and we have the clarifiers, the bear and the ring. I think that there will be some noise around this kind of work. It's the devil's work or whatever they want to say. But I mean, haven't people always said that? So that's that. Uh, we have this card, and this is 45. We have birds and we have star. Now, again, this is not on his radar that, getting us, this is not his agenda. But, he has people who will be in his cabinet. He has people who are in his ear talking about what they want to do in the future. And that would be to sort of get rid of all of us. Put us in jail? No. Execute us? No. But just, make it difficult. Put restrictions in, for this kind of work. Now, the center card, I thought that the moon was going to be the center card, right? Because that was my focus card, but it was the first card. So when that happens, I'm always curious to see, well, what will be the center card, the anchor. And the clarifiers are the stork and the scale. This tells me there's nothing to worry about. We don't need to go underground. in any kind of big way. I mean, aren't we always judicious about whom we tell what we do? I mean, be careful what comes out of your mouth. I think it's always important to be careful what comes out of your mouth and think before you speak. But I think we're going to be fine. This is a safety card. Um, you know, Fair and balanced in what we do and say. The stork is about positive change. So I don't think there will be this mass anything that this reader was worried about. Now, the fourth card was the tower, and we have crossroads and dog. I think, crossroad, this will be the government, 45's government. They have other fish to fry, not us. I'm using the word fry, it makes you think of burn, but yeah, no. They've got other fish to fry. Their lawyers have other stuff to do. So I don't think that people who do this work are in any kind of danger. And then we have finally the bouquet, and we have the letter, and we have the young man. Um, this is the card for cards, actually doing the cards. It is a gift to be able to use cards in this way. My hope is that more people will want to take up the study of the cards and help use it to help them inform their lives. I mean, that's why I do this in such a teacherly way. I want you to see how the cards function, and maybe you'll be inspired to get a deck and try it out for yourself. So this is a gift, the cards, and people who do this kind of work. And so I feel like we need to, you know, be brave like this guy is. Be brave and confident in what we do, as long as we're not ripping people off and being charlatans, as long as we are being ethical and honest and kind. I don't think that there's a danger. So yeah, don't worry about that. If I see that change, I will let you know, but I don't think that there's a danger of that. Okay. And then the last question that I wanted to look at was also from a viewer. And this is about the newly elected president of Mexico. She is their first woman president. She's also their first Jewish president. Her name is Claudia Sheinbaum. She is an environmental scientist. She was the mayor of Mexico City before she became the president. She comes to the job, having been an environmental scientist, and that tells us that she's very methodical and data-driven, apparently, much different from Obrador, who was the previous president. She and he are close, but he was very charismatic. Apparently, she's not so much charismatic. And um, my viewer asked me to look at her presidency in relation specifically to her approach to how to deal with the drug cartel situation in Mexico. So the issue is complicated. So there are drug cartels in Mexico. We've all heard of them. They are incredibly violent. And so there have been, various responses to this. The latest response officially has been something called hugs, not bullets, or hugs instead of bullets, whatever. So the theory was that what you would do is provide scholarships and job training opportunities to the young people who would otherwise be the recruits for the drug cartels, right? So if you give them an opportunity to make a living in an honest way, that they won't be lured away by the drug cartel. So that's one approach. Another thing that has happened, though, under Obrador and continued under Scheinbaum, apparently, is that there's a um, pretty forceful, we'll call it, um, law enforcement response to the drug cartels. such that um, justice, due justice is not a thing. So that, for example, I'll give you an example of a recent raid where all of the drug cartel people ended up dead, and there wasn't a scratch on the law enforcement side. Now, on the one hand, you want to say, well, that's great. I mean, get the bad guys. Why should, you don't want the law enforcement people to be hurt or injured or whatever. But apparently the policy is now ask, no, shoot first and ask questions never. So the violence is actually on both sides, on both sides. Now, Scheinbaum has a philosophy of how to deal with this. And her philosophy is that it's the judiciary that needs reforming. So, for one thing, judges will now be elected instead of appointed. That's one change. And for another thing, judges will have term limits. And her hope is that this will cut down on the corruption in the judiciary. And she seems to be sort of pretty much sticking with that theory of how to handle the problem and hasn't really addressed the violence piece. Uh, and so my viewer said that they had lost someone in their family to this cartel violence and was just asking whether I could look to see whether um, Scheinbaum, new president of Mexico, will have any better results in fighting this whole drug cartel thing than Obrador did. So uh, let's look for her in the deck. We'll look for Scheinbaum in the deck. And again, it's with an eye towards the drug cartel culture that really has seemed to overrun Mexico. What will her response be, and how will her response do? Okay, just trying to. You know what I don't like? I don't like readers who like shuffle for like 10 minutes while you watch. That's not me, but I really want to get a good answer to this question. Okay, here we go. So we're looking for the older woman that will stand for Claudia Scheinbaum, who is the new president of Mexico, and we're looking at her in relation to her response to the problem, drug cartel problem. Uh, okay, so I will tell you what these cards are, and then I think I'll draw a couple of clarifiers on a couple of the last cards. So we have the scythe, we have the scales, we have Claudia Scheinbaum, who's the president. We have the mice, and we have the lily. Okay, so I'm going to first draw a couple of clarifiers on the last two cards, on the mice and on the lily. Okay, interestingly, I've been dying to say this since I turned this card over. Um, do you remember before when I did the Russian question, the weapons for the Ukrainians? I said this was the card for weapons. Well, it's also the card for drug use. Why? Because injection needles, they're sharp, right? So the spirit knows exactly what question we're looking at. Really interesting. So the original line, we have the scythe, we have the scales, we have the woman, we have the mice, and we have the lily again. Okay, so this is what we're talking about. It seems that Scheinbaum wants to take a very measured approach, which is not unlike Obrador. Um, you know, the judiciary may very well need reforming, but it's also true that the military and the civilian police force need training. They need training, and they've not had it in forever. So Scheinbaum, though, is looking at the judiciary. It's very interesting that that card came up. In some cases, this can be the justice card. So she's looking at the judiciary and eliminating corruption in the judiciary as the answer to this problem. Here she is. And then I thought, well, let me pull some cards on this mice card because, mice is anxiety, worry, fear. We have the heart, we have the bear, and we have the cross. Now, remember I said that there's this policy of hugs, not bullets. That's this approach. Um, this is also the card for the mother, right? Uh, but the line ends with the cross. So, you know, we can also look at the mice as a decrease in violence, a decrease in the problem here. Um, but it ends with the cross, and that makes me feel like she's going to have some difficulty with this. I think she's doing a little obfuscation a little bit, like, no, I'm going to deal with the judiciary, and I'm going to start there, and everything will do the trickle down thing. And I'm not sure with this cross card that that's going to work. Um, yeah, because I can mirror the mice with the cross. Yeah. And I can mirror the bear with the heart. Her theory being, you can get more flies with honey than with vinegar, and vinegar would be a tougher approach, or vinegar would be approaching law enforcement and the military and saying, you guys need to train, you need better training. You can't just run out there and shoot everybody because, come on. Now, the last card in the line was interesting. It's the lily. The lily's great. It's the card for peace, and it mirrors the site, right? And isn't that what everybody wants? Is an end to this issue, peace in Mexico? Um, and the clarifiers are the ring, the sun, and the bouquet. I'm going to say that uh, I'm not saying there's going to be peace in the valley and everything's going to be okay. I'm saying that this is her approach. Her approach will be to start with the judiciary. If she thinks if she can eliminate the corruption in the judiciary, there will be a trickle down effect. Now, currently, 90% of cases they never get to court. So that could be a judiciary issue, maybe. Uh, but I think she's being quite optimistic in thinking that that will solve the problem. Um, I suspect in time she'll have to look at the other prong of this fork, which is the training of police and military in terms of ethics and in terms of things like proportionality of response, because there's not a proportionate response. But right now, she's still in the honeymoon phase, and she's ignoring questions about that. She's just saying, judiciary, judiciary, judiciary. I'm going to reform the judiciary. So that's the answer right now. Remember that energy is mutable and that what I'm seeing could change over time. For example, let's say she reforms the judiciary. Well, we might see that everything works out and that cartel violence is decreased. Or conversely, she reforms the judiciary, but things are still bad and she has to take another approach. We will see that in the fullness of time. But right now, she's still thinking, no, no, no. I, with my systematic approach, my scientific way of looking at things, I think that if the judiciary is reformed, everything will flow from that. Every good thing will flow from that. That's her approach. So let's wish her well and hope for the best. Um, and we'll see. I'll look at this again over time if you'd like me to. Uh, so that's it for today. Please do like, share, subscribe. Again, delighted to have so many of you here with me. If I'm not your cup of tea, there's lots of tea out there. There are oceans of tea. And so, you don't need to tell me that I'm not your cup of tea. That's fine. Just go find the flavor that you prefer. For those of you who choose to stay, I'm delighted to have you, and I will see you soon. Take care.